What it is, cucksters? It's our boy the hater up in this space for Raw review. And I will say, this episode of Raw actually was not that bad. There was many things that I enjoyed, but overall the episode was still poor. I'll explain myself as we do this review the way we do it, and we do it segment by segment. All right, the first segment, CM Punk comes out and does the obligatory "I just won a championship" speech, right? This is a boring ass promo because he says the exact same things that everyone else would say. He thanks AJ Lee. I'm fucking tired of AJ Lee coming up again and again and again. And then he thanks the fans. Then he says the fans deserve it. Now, the problem with this is the fans don't even want this shit. You know what I mean? If the fans wanted CM Punk to be champion, then more than 45 people would be watching this shit. Afterwards, he brings up Jey Uso to booze. He then thanks this jobber and reiterates that he is here for the money, signifying that he is still the same corporate cuck that he always has been. The fans chant nevertheless. Drew McIntyre is right about this point. Cody Rhodes, and of course CM Punk as well, are both corporatists, they're both careerists, and they're both opportunists. Yet, the fans cheer for them as if they are of the people. They are not of the people. The hater is of the people. He then swings the title around like Rollins, but barely and with little energy. This is a generic champ speech, and he explains that he wants to be a fighting champion. He challenges various jobbers, including Cena, AJ Styles, and Sheamus. He pretty much lists all the people there that he knows from the past. Why would Cena degrade himself and go after this jobber title? Anyways, Logan Paul comes out and he wants a shot. Then Heyman comes out and says he is Paul Heyman. This is one of the dumbest catchphrases of all time because we already know that this is Paul Heyman, right? Paul Heyman starting every promo with, "My name is Paul Heyman." It's like, dude, we already know what your name is. You know, it would be like, imagine if Kane came out and he said, "My finishing move is the chokeslam." You know what I mean? Yeah. Eventually people would repeat it, but it doesn't tell us anything new about this person. And some of you may not realize that both are equally stupid. If someone persistently comes up to you and says, "My name is this," then they're retarded. Like, imagine this. Go to your best friend or to your girlfriend or to your wife, to your mom, to your dad, and every time you start a conversation with them, tell them, "My name is Little Jimmy," or whatever the fuck your name is. You know? Eventually they're going to be like, "That's weird." So that's what I'm doing here, cucks. But basically, Heyman explains that Logan Paul is a bitch, and he says that Bronson is at the front of the line because he's the tribal thief, right? I don't know what happened to waiting, but I guess the waiting was really short term. He then says Braun Breaker is also at the front of the line, and Logan isn't at the line at all, right? Logan says, "Hey, tough titty, you hesitated, so I'm here." He's 100% right. What is the point of them waiting if waiting just means they're going to wait, and then when it's time, 1 week later, they're going to be like, "It's our time." What? What does that even mean, cuck? Anyways, after this, Braun Breaker says that they have been patient for 2 weeks. Like, you literally couldn't write anything worse than this, right? They tell Logan to bounce. As Logan tries to leave, they push him and they go to beat CM Punk. Logan goes to beat their asses, but then gets wrecked and then tsunami'd, right? Punk then beats him with a chair and wards them out. Then Punk throws the chair away. Now, at this point, logic should dictate that the two guys, the Brawns, see that CM Punk got rid of his weapon, and then they go and beat his ass again. But that's it, they leave, right? It's time for Stephanie Vaquer and Nikki Bella versus Raquel and Roxanne. I feel like Raquel and Roxanne are fucking carrying this show because they're wrestling every week up in this bitch. Anyways, this match, just like every match that involves Raquel and Roxanne, is this week's Who Gives a Rat's Ass match of the week. The match is boring and botchy. There's a part where Vaquer gets thrown in the corner. She doesn't know what the fuck she's doing. She tries to counter. It looks awkward as shit. At a certain point, Stephanie Vaquer has Raquel like in the devil's kiss, but on the apron. But in such a way where Raquel is standing on the floor, and then Stephanie is like sitting on her shoulders, and then she just twists a little bit, and Raquel, for some strange reason, gets on the apron. They've done this move multiple times. They've done it on ladders, on tables, and on the apron. Stephanie Vaquer's hips must have the power to lift mountains because all she does is she turns and the person taking the move just climbs the apron. It's one of the dumbest things ever. It would be like, imagine if someone's sitting at the top turnbuckle and someone grabs their foot and then the person whose foot's being grabbed just lifts the other guy. That's how stupid it is. Luckily, this time, this gets countered into an electric chair drop on the apron, right? After this, Nikki, who's the legal woman, gets forearmed by Raquel, and Roxanne then does one of the worst finishers of all time, the Pop Rocks. She does it in a very botchy way. She runs off the rope, then stops, then does it. I don't know why she ran off the ropes. Clearly, she was going to try to do it in one motion, but then she hesitated because she's not athletic enough to pull this off. She's not fucking Amazing Red. She's Roxanne Perez. She just stops and then does it like a regular move, which really makes the run-up look really, really dumb. Anyways, after this, they get the pin and the heels win. They then show a Cena vignette. Great. CM Punk and Jey Uso have an interaction. Jey appreciates CM Punk, and it looks like it's them versus the Vision tonight because Jey volunteers to be CM Punk's partner, Oos. So that's how that went down, motherfucks. After this, we see the Mania Vegas thing where like Brock Lesnar and a bunch of other people are sitting around a poker table as Triple H and Paul Heyman are in the back narrating, right? First of all, the underpinnings of this are that Triple H and Paul Heyman are masterminds, but Triple H has yet to do anything intelligent in this company. So just the fact that he's trying to present all of these stars as big deals, but is trying to present himself like the mastermind is just laughable. If Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns don't want to be part of WrestleMania, WrestleMania is going to look like Saturday night's main event. Like, there's never been a time when the inmates have had this much power, right? Even when you had Rock and Stone Cold, Vince McMahon was intelligent enough to always have people in the back, right? Right after the Attitude Era, like when that ended, Stone Cold left, The Rock left, Goldberg left, eventually Lesnar left, and everything was fine because he kept around other people like Booker T, JBL, Triple H, and then he made new stars immediately in the form of Cena, Orton, and Batista. And then other people like Jericho left, it didn't have any impact. Kurt Angle left, it didn't have any impact because he kept making new stars. But nowadays, if Lesnar and Roman Reigns say, I don't want to wrestle WrestleMania, you're going to get like CM Punk versus Jimmy Uso and Jey Uso versus like fucking Gunther again or some bullshit like that nobody wants to see. So the implication that somehow Triple H is the mastermind really pisses me off up in this bitch. After this, it's El Grande Pendejo versus Penta. The match is a mockery of WWE and Lucha Libre at the same damn time. Bravo Americano, which is one of the lackeys, sweeps Penta's leg and then gets kicked out. Rayo gives Grande the plate. Grande puts the plate on his head. Rayo then prevents Penta from doing a top rope move. So that's 2 times that Penta has been screwed with. Nevertheless, the referee sees this and kicks Rayo out, right? Penta then super kicks a torpedoing Grande Americano, who goes for like a torpedo Moscow, basically, with the head plate, and then hits him with a Mexican Destroyer. Basically, he pins them. After the match, Rayo and Bravo Americano try to attack him, but they're basically comedy lackeys, meaning that they just trip on themselves, right? It's like some bullshit like that. And then basically, Penta escapes unscathed. This is the exact same thing he did to the New Day and Grayson Waller, right? For some reason, Penta can destroy teams of formidable guys, but then he can't beat Dominik Mysterio. You know what I mean? But whatever. That's how they went with it. So that's how we're giving it up in this bitch, right? After this, the silly Penta leaves and says he's the best. The lackeys are humiliated, and it's time for them to get fired. For those that don't know, the lackeys are played by Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate, who should be both released. After this, we see an Asuka and Kyrie vignette. Nobody cares. I skipped it completely. Dominik then comes out for the segment of the night. He is massively over. He says he is the best Intercontinental Champion of all time. Now, obviously, that's an exaggeration, but he is having a great run considering the fan reaction and considering the fact that he wrestles all the time. He's also the AAA champion, which means absolutely nothing, but nevertheless, he is that champion. And also, the last several matches that he's won, he hasn't won them clean, obviously, because that's not his character, but he hasn't won them with help from Judgment Day. He has won them on his own merits, right? So he's doing pretty good. After this, he says that no man can stop him. Rey Mysterio comes out. A legend in Rey Mysterio comes out. The fans are pretty excited. But once Rey Mysterio goes in and cut a promo, which, by the way, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Rey Mysterio is Christian Cage or The Rock on the mic, but Rey Mysterio, in my personal opinion, is an above-average mic talker. This is considering 2 things. Number 1, Rey Mysterio is the greatest luchador of all time, hands down. So he doesn't need to talk on the mic. If anybody doesn't need to talk on the mic, it's the guy that's presented as a Mexican cult hero. Number two, and perhaps this is even more important, right? Because Rey Mysterio speaks English, he can cut the promo. And perhaps the most important element of all of this is that Rey Mysterio is fucking Rey Mysterio, right? He's doing something that he doesn't need to do at age 50 in many capacities. Rey Mysterio is cutting a promo out here, right? Despite being the GOAT at his type of wrestling, right? There is no need for him to do this. Yet, despite this, he is the best at cutting a promo. He never had to, he never should have to, but nevertheless, he can, and he does. You also have to consider the fact that the competition of luchador promos is basically zero because of the aforementioned fact that none of these motherfucks speak English, right? Like, Rey Fénix comes out and he goes, "Animo!" And then, like, we're supposed to be like, oh, that's enough, that's good enough for us. Just some retard comes out and goes, "Animo!" You know, like, the fuck is this? Penta comes out and he says, "Cero, miedo." And to be fair, Stephanie Vaquer, she's learning English, but it doesn't matter. If this broad masters the English language, if she learns Shakespearean level English, her promos are still gonna suck ass because her promos are gonna be like basically this: "I have the fire in me." I'm not even doing an accent when I imitate her because in this one, she's learned English. "I have the fire in me," because she'd have like an English Shakespearean accent. And then fucking like Tessitor or someone would be like, her father Hector must be proud. Like, I give a flying fuck about her father Hector. The point is Rey Mysterio is the fucking GOAT. And he's talking. And while he's talking, the dumbasses in attendance start chanting, "Dirty, dirty Dom," which is nice. And I'm sure it makes Mysterio feel proud. But nevertheless, a fucking legend is speaking. A bona fide legend is speaking, you know? Anyways, Rey says that Dominik insults the cultura. He insults the cultura. Ese, don't you dare insult the cultura. Then he talks about irrelevant luchadors that nobody gives a fuck about. He's like, "You say you're better than El Santo?" And I'm like, yeah, he is. Dominik is better than El Santo because nobody knows who the fuck El Santo is. "Oh, hater, didn't you watch in 1967 AAA versus CMLL? Like en la Guerra del Mundo when, El Santo beat like El Pendejo?" No, I didn't. I was busy watching Felipe Escalante up in this bitch. Anyways, then Rey Mysterio says, "Are you saying you're better than Blue Demon?" Yeah, he is. I think I saw Blue Demon Jr. wrestling like fucking Rick Moriarty in ROH. Yes, Dominik is many times better than Blue Demon Jr. And I understand Rey Mysterio is a humble guy in real life, and his character is a humble man. But the reality is this. Rey, he eventually got there, but Rey should just be like, "You're not better than me, bro. You're not even close." But anyways, that's like not, necessary to say, because this is the feud. And then he also says, "You think you're better than Eddie Guerrero?" Which, by the way, he wasn't really a luchador. "Oh, hater, when he wrestled in Guadalajara, he wrestled as like El Pendejo Misterioso." Like, I don't care, you know what I mean? Eddie Guerrero is not known for being a luchador. He's known for being a regular-ass wrestler who happened to be of Mexican descent. That's all he was. None of the things that he did were luchador-y, right? Even the moves that he did, they had like one luchador move, and the rest was like him doing weird shit and cool moves, and he looked like a fucking beast. So he wasn't a luchador. Rey Mysterio is a luchador. To me, unless you're wearing a mask for the majority of your career, you're not a luchador. As a matter of fact, if you're not wearing a mask when you achieve your highest accomplishment, you're not a luchador. So Rey Mysterio won the world title while wearing a mask. He won the WWE title while wearing a mask. He is a full-blown luchador. At this point, Dominik says, "Hey, you should keep my father's name out of your mouth," which was a good thing to say because it harkens back to the idea that he feels more like he's Eddie's son, etc., right? He says he's better than all the Guerreros, and he is better than Rey. I will say this. Obviously, Dominik is not better than Eddie Guerrero, but he is better than every other Guerrero, except for maybe Chavo, right? In my opinion, he's better than Chavo, but Chavo like wrestled a long time, so you got to give Chavo some props. I always liked Chavo back in WCW, but Dominik has surpassed Chavo, obviously, right? But he's never going to surpass Eddie and everybody else. Oh, Hector Guerrero. Oh, Hector Guerrero. Is Hector Guerrero Stephanie Vaquer's father? Oh, Hector Guerrero. And then there's like Mundo Guerrero, whatever the fuck his name is. These complete nobodies. Nobody gives a shit about any of these. Oh, Gory Guerrero. No, there's only 3 Guerreros that matter. Eddie, Chavo, and Chavo Sr., Chavo Classic. Everybody else is an irrelevant who just leached off the name. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. Basically, he says, look, I'm better than the Guerreros, and I'm better than you as well, he says to Rey. Rey says he can disrespect him, which is kind of weird. Rey Mysterio is really willing to be disrespected by his son, as the fans chant, beat his ass, right? Or whoop his ass or something, right? But Rey says, you can disrespect me, but not Lucha Libre. And then he takes off his jacket. Dom says he made the Mysterio name relevant, and he has surpassed Rey. Rey then buries him by telling him 3 things. I don't remember exactly what they were, but basically it was like this. As long as I'm around, this will never be your ring. As long as I'm around, I'm the number 1 Mysterio. You'll never be the best Mysterio. And as long as I'm around, you'll never be like the number 1 luchador, right? So Rey buries him. Dom attacks him, but the GOAT does like a hit scissors and it 619s his ass. He goes for the splash, but Dominic rolls out of the way. Orale, arriba la raza! Anyways, after this excellent segment, we see Bayley and Lyra. I skipped this shit immediately. Nobody could possibly want to see this. Then we see Becky Lynch come out. She goes on top of the table and complains about the ref. This is a decent but repetitive promo. This is your classic Becky Lynch promo now, where she says, I'm the best ever. It's not just me saying it. Sports Illustrated says it, which I think is actually pretty clever, and I would hope that this thing catches on. As she leaves, she's probably like working like to get that over kind of, so she can use it in her Hall of Fame speech. I bet you she's thinking like that, like long term, because she's a jobber. Anyways, as she leaves, she runs into the Kabuki Warriors, which are making their way to the ring. It's Kabuki Warriors versus Lyra and Bayley in an extremely long and drawn-out match. The match is not complete shit. It's better than the other women's match, but nevertheless, it's a women's tag team match, so the average botches that you've come to expect and love happen in this match as well. Asuka catches Lyra into an Asuka lock midair. Before this, there's this like miscue that leads to a botchy situation. Bayley's on the apron, and she's about to plow into Kyrie, right? But then what happens is Asuka throws Lyra onto Bayley, but because they missed the cue, Bayley's waiting on the apron like an asshole for this moment to happen, right? For this spot to happen. They're so uncoordinated that the spot comes off looking extremely dumb. So this happens, then Lyra gets in the ring, and she tries to do like, I don't know what she's trying to do. She kind of like springboards off the corner backwards, right? I don't know what she was going for. It doesn't matter. Asuka catches her in a fucking Asuka lock and makes her tap out in seconds, Good finish, decent match, but I don't really see the point of this whatsoever, right? After this, Alexa and Charlotte come out to beat some ass, but the Kabuki Warriors simply leave, right? And Asuka and Kyrie, they're leaving and like kind of dancing while looking backwards. And meanwhile, Charlotte and Alexa are just holding up their titles. So it's like they ran in to beat ass and failed completely. This should be presented as a failure, you know what I mean? Because this happens a lot. A lot of times, wrestlers come in to beat someone's ass, the other person runs away, and then they're just standing there in the ring like assholes, And you're like, great, like who gives a flying fuck? Listen, you failed at your goal. Your goal was to beat them up, they ran away. You failed at your goal. Anyways, after this, it's time for your obligatory Judgment Day Clubhouse segment, right? Dominik storms into the clubhouse and complains. JD and Finn have a match for the tag team titles tonight. Roxanne convinces Dom to go out and support them. This is after they leave. The tag match is next, and it's actually a pretty good match. I actually enjoyed this a lot. There's a lot of false finishes in this match. Dom is out there doing the Dom shit, right? He's doing everything he can to help these jobbers win. But Sheamus comes out and stops him. There's a false finish. There were many, but there was one that I actually believed was going to be the end. Finn Balor hits, I think, AJ Styles with a shillelagh on the head. He misses completely, hits him in the shoulder, but obviously you're not going to hit him in the head because he could actually get hurt like that, right? And JD does like a roll-up, right? Like an O'Connor roll, but it's not enough. Eventually, finally, after about 35 minutes, Dragon Lee comes in, does some shit. Basically what he does is he throws Finn outside and dives onto him. Meanwhile, Sheamus takes care of Dom, right? So the only people left in the ring that are viable are AJ Styles and, of course, JD McDonough, who's already taken a phenomenal form to the face. What happens is JD goes to the top turnbuckle. He tries to push AJ Styles with his foot. AJ catches the foot. And unlike what you might expect, and that is JD lifting AJ with one foot as if he were Stephanie Vaquer, instead AJ just pulls him off right into the Styles Clash, middle of the ring. 1, 2, 3, that's the end of that. I thought this was a good match for many reasons. The primary reason, in my opinion, has to do with one thing and one thing only, and that is the fact that AJ and Dragon Lee are obviously transitional champions. So at any moment, they could lose the title, which makes every match they're in somewhat interesting. So I did enjoy that, motherfucks. After this, Nikki Bella, in my opinion, is about to turn heel. She goes and she basically talks to Stephanie Vaquer, who is leaving. She's like, Stephanie, like, I'm such a jobber, you know, like, I thought I could come back here and hang with you guys, but I am a jobber, right? And then Stephanie says, no, you're not a jobber. You're Nikki Bella, bonita. You know, you're cool, you know? And then Nikki's like, I needed to hear that. That's it. So I think this is going to basically lead into like Nikki Bella loses a few matches, then turns heel. Nikki Bella should be the women's champion. She's the only one here with any personality. Like Nikki Bella is one of the only women in the roster who isn't a fucking nerd. You know for a fact that Stephanie Vaquer and obviously Asuka and Kairi and obviously probably Raquel and Roxanne, all of these are like those anime girls that hang out at like conventions and just like talk to fat dudes. And that fat dudes get all excited because like a hot girl talked to them. But Nikki Bella isn't like that at all. She should be the champion because she's the coolest. Simple as that, cucks. That's what I gotta say about that up in this bitch. Then we get an awkward segment of Paul Heyman talking to Jey Uso. Paul Heyman tells Jey Uso that if people don't conform with the vision, they get wrecked, right? Paul Heyman is clear in explaining that this used to mean if you fuck up with the vision one day, that day you're getting wrecked. But now it's like on site, right? It's just automatic. If you're not with the vision, right? If you don't bend the knee, you just get wrecked, For some reason, the thing that made this awkward was that Jey Uso is like working out with one of those like extension, tension cords type of thing, tension bands. And I don't know why he's tolerating Paul Heyman, who's been his nemesis for like a fucking long time now, for over a year. You know what I mean? Like for over a year, he's been like fucking with Paul Heyman. Maybe not over a year, but almost a year since WrestleMania, right? So there you have it. That's just how it went down. Anyways, it's time for the main event. The main event, as I alluded to earlier, is CM Punk and Jey Uso, right? Versus The Vision, the Bronze. So the match is a colossal waste of time. It goes on for what seems like a fucking eternity, but it's all for naught because the match ends in a double countout. In other words, the match is exactly what happened in the opening segment of the night. The only difference is now Jey Uso also is getting his ass beat, right? During the talk that Heyman had with Jey, he basically says to Jey, you have a vision of your own, Maybe he's going to have like a loose alliance with the Vision. Something needs to happen to start creating the fucking Survivor Series teams, right? And then basically what happens is in the match, it's literally the same thing. Jey Uso has been completely destroyed, and CM Punk is left with a chair. Now, the Bronze are outside, and they get their own chairs, right? Something they should have done in the opening segment, they didn't, so now we have this, right? So basically what happens, motherfuckers, is that they go in to attack him. CM Punk's just waiting. Logan Paul appears. Even though he got tsunamied. When someone gets tsunamied, usually they're off for like 3 weeks. Logan Paul is back. He puts on the brass knucks and he's standing side by side by CM Punk. And as the match obviously is over, all of this shit's like, you can do all this, right? And then basically they're about to have a clash. And then what happens is, of course, Logan Paul just blasts CM Punk in the head with a brass knucks. And then he gives the brass knucks to Paul Heyman, ending the show. Now, one thing that I didn't like about this segment, well, I didn't like anything about this segment, but one thing that didn't make any sense is Logan Paul giving the brass knucks to Heyman, right? Maybe he heard Heyman's conversation with Jey Uso, and maybe he's decided to fall in line. It's not clear if he's part of the Vision, right? As a matter of fact, he probably isn't, right? He's just falling in line. But this might be enough to generate like enough interest in him joining their Survivor Series War Games team, right? And then maybe Jey Uso can join them, and Roman Reigns, like Jimmy and like, CM Punk and fucking, I don't know, someone else can do that, right? Because it looks like Jey Uso's turning heel. He's getting boos now. So we'll see how it goes. Or maybe it's just going to be like Team Paul Heyman versus Team Roman Reigns again, right? Because it's always like that, you know what I mean? It's been like Paul Heyman versus Roman Reigns or Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns for the last several years. So I should also note that 2 matches, I don't know why they didn't just pull all the balls today, right? They're so devoid of ideas that even the fucking, Cena tournament situation is such, right? Where basically these dumb fucks have to tease you with what the matches are going to be. So the 2 matches that they have announced are going to be Damian Priest versus Rusev and Nakamura versus Sheamus. And then Nick Aldis is going to pull 2 more on SmackDown, right? I don't know how I feel about this. I just want to know if Gunther's in it or not, because I hope he's not. Because if he's in it, I think he's going to win, and I think that's going to ruin the entire tournament. So there you have it, and therefore the entire, December 13th show. So we'll see how this goes. It is what it is. This episode, it could have definitely been worse. I give it a 4 out of 10. It was a pretty solid episode by today's standards, but there's a lot of dumb shit that happened as well. So overall, it still sucked ass. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, but it is moving in the right direction. The hater will always give it to you honestly, cuckolds. So with that being said, you take what I just said, turn that sumbitch sideways, and stick it straight up your candy asses, cucks.